This short video is going to discuss feed additives, which is referring back to that International Feed Numbering Category 8. And the purpose of today's little video is to define the classes of feed additives and talk about some common examples and briefly hit on why they're used in livestock rations. Feed additives are typically added in rations to improve performance and health of the animals and improve their well-being. It is strictly regulated in developed countries such as the U.S. to ensure human food safety, safety and well-being of the animal, to make sure that the additives maintain their efficacy or functionality, and to also reduce and make sure there's a minimal impact upon the environment. And so anything that we can legally use in this country has been strictly tested and regulated, and strict guidelines are set in place. The animal products also have to comply with the laws of the country that we're exporting to. So in addition to our own requirements, we have to meet countries that we're exporting to. The same needs to be done for products that are being exported into or imported by the U.S. as well. We've talked about the Association of Feed Control Officials. They regulate a lot of this. And when we're talking about what exactly an additive is, it's an ingredient or a combination of ingredients added to the basic feed to fulfill a very specific need. Most of these are non-nutritive, meaning they don't supply protein, they don't supply specific nutrients, carbohydrates, fiber, minerals, vitamins, etc. But they do function to stimulate growth and animal performance in some way. A lot of times we see improvements in feed efficiency, and usually they're beneficial to the health and metabolism of the animal. Additionally, feed additives, in addition to being regulated by AFCO, that's also controlled by the Food and Drug Administration. And as part of that process, there is extensive testing that must happen to get approval for products. And that testing must prove the things we talked about earlier. Minimal impact on the environment, promotes health and well-being in the animal. There is minimal food safety, animal safety, any kind of safety risks associated with those products. There are generally two classes that we refer to. Category 1 is the safest to use, with the least potential for unsafe residues, requires no withdrawal period. Category 2 feed additives do require a withdrawal period at the lowest level of use. And so feeds must be labeled if they have feed additives that could either be category 1 or 2. Medicated feeds, which are generally the category 2 feeds, are going to be classified as either a type A, which they're kind of vague and refer to each other, but type A contain one or more drugs at a potency higher than permitted in type B. Type B feed additives are used for further mixing that contain a drug, and it's intended for manufacture into another type B or C. Okay, so that's generally like a premix or something that is going to be added to a ration to create a medicated feed. A type A is the purer form of that product that usually goes into making a type B. A type C is not intended for further mixing. It's a top dress, it's a complete feed, it's a free choice. It is where the medical compound in there, the drug, is substantially diluted, and it is at the level that is going to be fed to the animal. Whoever's mixing these feeds must be registered with the FDA to mix a type A category 2 compound, meaning those high potency withdrawal times. They have to be essentially certified by FDA to be able to mix, and that is ensuring like a quality audit that they're able to mix those safely and consistently. If an individual is mixing a medicated feed using a type B type product for their own animals, they also have to follow any rules and guidelines that are laid out on the label as regulated by the FDA. So it is important to always follow feed manufacturer instructions. Some common examples of products that get used in livestock rations, the first and foremost is antibiotics. And we hear a lot about antibiotics from the standpoint that we feed too many antibiotics to animals and those types of issues. What I just ask from you guys is to do some research. The reason that we have traditionally fed low levels of an antibiotic is because it does intend to increase feed intake by eliminating health risks for the animal, keeping them healthy, which also results in increased growth and performance, reduces impact upon the environment from the standpoint of the animal's health and well-being, and they're less likely to go off feed. And so it is done initially not just to improve performance, but it improves the well-being of the animal by reducing instances of illness. That was the original intent of using low levels of antibiotics. And again, it's one of those things that has been tested heavily by FDA. Another product that can be used are arsenicals, which are used in swine and poultry to control parasites, but they can accumulate. They're a little more heavily regulated product. They do require a 5-day withdrawal. Coccidiates are very important in poultry, and we use them in especially sheep and goat diets as well. Coccidiosis is a protozoa that can cause severe diarrhea in animals, and so controlling it is very, very important. And so that's why a lot of times for poultry or even the sheep and goats, we will put coccidiostats that help control that protozoa to make sure the animal's health is maintained. We can also use like hormone like substances. An example is melangestrol acetate, which is similar to progesterone. It's used to suppress heat or estrus in beef heifers. It's important in beef heifers, especially if they're in a feedlot setting. They're going to go into the food chain and not be kept for reproduction. Every 21 days when they're cycling and showing heat, they are riding each other, they go off feed, they lose weight, and it puts stress upon them. So sometimes if you're feeding out a group of heifers, you will feed them this product to basically eliminate estrus in them. There are also some implants that are commonly used. These are not fed. These are the exogenous hormonal implants that we hear about. They have been designed to improve feed efficiency and the rate of gain. They're again tested extensively by the FDA. I strongly encourage you guys to look into some of the research testing the efficacy and the risks associated with these products, and you'll find that there's actually minimal risks associated with using some of these products, and they can help the producers be able to stay in business longer. So it's important from that standpoint. That wraps up our discussion of additives. Don't forget to read the chapter in the book associated with feed additives and pick up the next session on feed labeling and then work through the feed laws.